Hello, I'm Jean Harvey. In this video, I will present a model and a technique. It is a model that's already been presented in previous videos. I will this time show a specific technique on how to use it practically to connect, to specify strategy, to specify key elements of operations, and to connect the both of them. It is the v2p model, as I call it in the book, v2p, value to processes. And I will use an example that's already been presented, or introduced at least in a previous video, the designer, the home designer example. So maybe you want to go back to see this video first. It is the third part of the video where I present the eye-level view without getting into the technical aspect of things, which I'm going to do right now. So the topics and the concepts to be presented are many. They are strategic, many of them: positioning, value proposition, service concept, job concept, and so on. The technique, value to process diagrams. You will recall from chapter 4 this eye-level view of the learning organization. Let me highlight the key aspects of it. The value creation in the market, where the thermometer represents the higher the red, the more the value you create. Our competition, us, therefore a gap here. On the labor market, on the other side, we also create value for our employees, of course. More value perceived, less value perceived, therefore a gap. And we also create value for our shareholders, and there can be gap in there as well with important consequences, of course. Strategy. The overall game plan, the overall umbrella orientation within which all our tactics take place, within which operation strategy, marketing strategy, HR strategy deploys and are implemented. Processes are the set of action that we take. Operation action, administrative action, strategic actions that we take that will address these gaps, the value gap in the market, in the labor market, and in the financial markets. Processes is what we do, and of course it is the focus of much of the book and many of the videos. Understanding the DNA of processes. A key aspect of improvement and learning is picking the vital processes to design or to change in order to implement your strategy, execute. Key processes are pumped through the learning pump, either improved or designed. And this we have discussed in other part, and this is a technical aspect. Each of these have a methodology to do so. And of course a key challenge is to put them back. Change management, motivation of people, and so on. The v2p model is a different representation of the same thing. It does not go into that part, but the value creation and the processes are highlighted. And let me go to this model, which again was presented in a previous video. Markets, market segments, competitors targeting various segments. We developing a benefit package, a customer benefit package that will create more value for some customer, more perceived value for some of the customers. That will be differentiated in their mind. This is, again, a marketing notion that I will not get into much detail here, but it's fundamental for whoever wants to develop, improve, manage, design processes. And of course, to create the benefits, we need to provide a service, and the service has feature. These two, the features, the benefits, are the service concept. It will not work unless we can do the same thing on the labor market, meaning that whoever provides that service is happy to do so, motivated to do so, and to achieve the result. Of course, we have to deliver to these persons a personal value proposition that will create the right mindset and the right disposition to deliver the service. So, labor market segments, you see the parallel, of course. Various competitors vying for the best people, the people of choice. Developing a personal benefit package, an employee benefit package, and of course a job description and things to do, motivation, social aspects of work, that together, the job features, will deliver these personal benefits and will be considered superior for our people of choice to the job concepts offered by the others. The job concept is the features and the benefits. This is what we call dual positioning. It is dual in that you cannot do the things separately. You cannot do or resolve the two paradigms separately. You need to manage that in a dual way so that it fits. So that the person picked here, when they meet the targeted customer, they do deliver mutually value. Win-win is the only way to go. And then as we know very well, we have to measure this. We have to translate these soft elements into targets that we can measure repetitively, and it can be reproduced, and it is valid, and so on. Things that you know. In the v2p model that I will show in the actual form that I will ask you to use, this here, the standards, will be placed on top. We have to develop processes whose voice fit within the target. Voice of the process is the sum total of the variation it produces. This has got to fit into the target so that we deliver the value here. And of course, as a result, win in the marketplace and deliver value to the shareholders. Shareholder value will be down here. And the processes will create this value. And we need these processes to be coherent. Not only to be optimal when you looked at them individually. We need them to be coherent and consistent with one another. To reinforce, feed into one another logically. If you do things separately, without a holistic understanding of these value propositions, you're liable to have processes that work against each other rather than with each other. The overall game plan, umbrella orientation, the strategy, the operation strategy, we need to create profit leveraging, meaning more perceived value for lower cost. Leverage, profit leverage, ways to do things that give more for less, and in such a way differentiate us as well in the mind of the investor. There you go. The v2p model, on which I will focus this video now, are really two forms. Understanding this conceptually is one thing. To use it so that it's got practical value, you need to actually start applying it to either a business that you know, in which you work, or a new business venture that you are considering. And for this I have designed two forms. They are limited in that there are one-pagers, each of them, so they're limited in terms of what you can put in them, but you can easily complement and add later on. The purpose of them is to force you to put words into the concept that we discussed. Who is our target market segment? How do we describe them? What exactly are our benefits that we're providing? How can we spell them out? What exactly is our differentiation? Each of the benefits that we produce, what service features exactly are included in our service that deliver, that creates these benefits. So this is the purpose of the model. You will recall then the home designer example. in which I applied this model in a previous video. I presented briefly the customer. She's a single person that goes to people's home, helps them design new kitchen, new bathroom, works with the people. She's alone in her business, but she's got many providers, suppliers in the back, and she can synchronize the work as well with these people. Many aspects of her works are critical. Working with the customer, typically a couple with a substantial sum of money to invest in people who value their home market segment. She is the employee as well as the shareholder in this case. She's got to have a job that she likes. She gets a personal value proposition from it that motivates her to be there, to want to be there, and to be perceived as such by the clients. So the customer experience in there, the business model. How do we create value exactly? How do we deliver that value? And how do we capture that value for profits? Very simply. The personal value proposition, operation strategy, key processes, and voice of customer. Of course, the form presented here, which you will find in the book as well, will help you do so, to actually spell it out. Notice the general arrangement. It parallels the drawings that I had, the v2p model, with customer position, the positioning here, customer value, the employee value here, the bubbles that I had, the package, and so on. This is here. The service, voice of customer, service standards is up here. All the processes are in this square here. Operation strategy and the shareholder value. You cannot possibly fill the financial aspects here. As I will show, you can use various sets of arrows to actually connect things together later on. Now, what you want to know, and I will fill this up for you illustratively with the home designer example. It's a metaphor, nothing else, but it will make it more concrete, I think. One thing I need to say here, this box includes 4 categories of processes. Anything that goes in here starts with a verb, an action verb, infinitive, repetitive. Improve this, reduce that is not a process, it is a project. It's got to be the repetitive actions that are performed routinely in the business. Repetitive process. I'm not looking at projects here, improvement project, design projects. It starts with a verb, and you've got to be able to draw the Cytoc diagram with each of those verbs that you put in here. You should be able to take it out. Input, output, starts when, ends when. Who's the customer of that process? And it generally is actually another process. Who's the supplier of that process? Generally, it is also another process upstream. Those that create value are those that deliver these things directly. Every time you iterate, you deliver value. Enablers are the processes that make it possible for these to function day in and day out. Support and infrastructure, of course, is maintaining the service-scape so that it could be the virtual service-scape, the physical service-scape, depending on the type of business you're in, that will allow this to function. The administrative service-scape as well. Suppliers and partners, and I put this particular shape in here because some suppliers and partners can deliver value directly. They can create value. Some will be enablers and some will be support and infrastructure. That's the design. But fundamentally, you cannot put all the processes you cannot possibly think of putting all the processes of the business in here. It's not the goal. But the goal is to understand, and I would ask you, if you are in a business right now or if it's a new venture, to start from this side with the customer
And as you do that, there'll be a bit of back and forth. Every time you describe a service feature, you should connect it to the benefit and think of what you do, action verbs that will deliver that. And slowly you'll be starting to move on this side, because when you have a service feature, often an employee is involved. So who's that person? What is she getting out of it, other than her salary, of course? And from this you can move on. In fact, you move from market in, if you like, not marketing, market in. You go through the process that create value, the enablers and the suppliers processes. Then what are we measuring? What are the targets? You cannot dream of putting all the metrics in here, but start with the most important. And if you need space, then you can carry on in some other sheet, an operation strategy. The second sheet I've added because of course the lack of space, there is a second sheet detail that you can use. I called it v2p clarifications. It comes in 3 columns. First is the customer experience. As you will recall from previous videos, the airport and others, customer goes through an experience or set of emotions as a result of various things that he does, various ambiance and environments in which he is, various interactions that he has. Just listing the benefits, as we do in the previous form 1, does not do justice to the complete flow of the experience. So here you have some space, not long, but more, to sort of describe the flow of the customer experience in that process. Critical contributing, as you do that, what kind of ambiance element are critical to the experience? Key customer contact points. What are the vital moment of truth in the process? And of course, there are things that the customer does on his own. And especially in virtual environments nowadays, there's a lot that he or she does on its own. What are the key aspects there? The business model, again, how do we create value here? How do we deliver it? How do we capture it financially? The value chain is the horizontal chain of input-output that eventually ends up creating an experience. So it is vertical in that sense. Let me go right away to the value network, which is horizontal, like a bubble around the customer. If I buy an airline ticket, they will generally propose me car rental, hotel, tourist package, and so on if I'm going for touring. This is a value network. It's important for whoever sells the airline ticket to connect around the customer into his total experience, to avoid, of course, some other competitor to capture it at the same time. So whoever sells the hotel may want to sell the complete package as well. So the value chain, horizontal, the value network is around, generally with partners. Cost structure and profit potential, well, you can't fit the financial statement in here. High level idea, how do I make money? Exactly. What are the basic, the fundamental aspect of the economics of this business and my location in it that will make my business profitable? Market segment, a little more space, the value network, and if can I be in 1 or 2 sentences, how am I beating my 2 major competitors? How am I differentiating, and how am I going to be superior to them for selected market segments? Then there's a final column where you can go into technical details that may be critical to the success of the business. Key information system, information technology, key tools, key players, in the case of the home designer, obviously. If you are designing a new business, if this is a business venture, then you want to specify the major risks, and you want to specify, because when you do all this, you don't know everything, of course, you don't have all the facts. You want to clearly separate what you know from what you don't, and what you think you know. And then go into a fact-finding mission. Get the data, evidence. Make sure that this becomes evidence-based. as you're drawing it, it is not evidence-based. It is, you're trying to put some logic into it. Wherever there's doubt, and can be quite a bit of this, you go and get the facts through simulation, through benchmarking, through market studies, whatever you need. But at least you'll have a plan d'ensemble, an overall view of this that makes sense. Logical value, logical coherence, logical validity. So here, in this model here, I've tried to fill it in for the designer example. Let's take it bit by bit. It is my reading. It is not letter of law, but it will illustrate the model. In this box here, I've taken one market segment. You may target several. I've just taken one. You are the customer, we, the customer, value our interior design. We're very busy, but we make quite a bit of money, and blah, blah, blah. It is speaking in the first person. Makes you get in your customer's mind. And it forces you to get out of your mind, the producer's mind, and think they. Recall the notion of customer activity, the customer corridor or customer activity cycle, same notion. So you start describing this here. There'll be space on the other sheet to complete. Identify the two major competitors by name and give us one key differentiator. For example, key design would be a turnkey project. We come in, you sign the check, we do everything. We tell you when it's ready, or we just, it works. You have nothing to do. It could be a competitor with specific positioning. France design could be exclusive. Anything that we put in here does not exist, we guarantee anywhere else in this town or in this country, whatever, exclusivity. Now, the service concept, recall the gift box and the features. She in this case, delivers security, empathy, ease, visualization. It's clear. We make it visual in your mind before it becomes a physical reality. Stimulation, harmony. Harmony in the sense that a couple designing a house may have different views. And it's easy to get into a fight, especially when there's quite a bit of money and when you spend your days in that place. So a key element of a proposition is a skilled designer will see the gaps and bridge the gaps, but to be a useful intermediary to reconcile the couple. So that could be a lot of value. And so on. How do I give you security? Well, I'll give you subtle guidance, 3D drawings. How do I give you harmony? Well, I will be the referee in quarrel. Of course, when I say that, I need a process. How am I going to referee? It's very specific. There's fight. It's very subtle as well. You need someone very skilled in terms of human interaction to intervene. So whenever I put the benefits here, how do I give you ease? Well, meeting at home at your convenience. Oh, I need a process to be at their home because I've got other places I got to be, other customer to see. It forces me to go back into the process thing here. Each of these specific features connects to each of the benefits. It's not enough to say that we'll give you harmony. You need to specify what you do. What exactly is the feature of your service that will create harmony and how you're going to do it. That's the process in the end. So that's in this sense we're going market in. It's always good and essential here to formulate your customer value proposition. Once you've listed all the benefits, once you've described the customer experience, can you formulate in 1, 2, or 3 sentences, short as possible, one breath explanation, what is it that we offer you that is superior to our competition? Spend quality time together as you invent your interior. Without pressure, we will adapt the approach to your personal needs. I don't have much space, you will not have much space. But it is really a great learning experience for any organization to try and formulate this and get agreement among the various executives in the business. This is the value proposition. It's got to be differentiated from key design, turnkey, and exclusive. So this is a high-level kick at the can in terms of positioning. The bottom here, you've got the employee. In this case, she is the one employee. So that makes it simple. The market segment is her. Same person that delivers is also the market segment for the personal value proposition. I have 2 young kids. My husband travels much. We live in the countryside. Blah. Whatever. It is a first-person statement of who I am, what I do, what I value. This allows me to specify the benefits. Different person will appreciate different things. What's a great benefit to one person is very negative for another, and so on. Autonomy, stimulation without stress, financial benefits, and for personal growth, and so on. For each of those, I need to be able to specify what in the job creates this benefit for this person. Well, flexibility. Well, you have flexible hours. You set your own schedule. Stimulation. Well, and without stress. Well, she can refuse clients. If you find that she doesn't get along with a client after a first discussion, she may say, okay, I really can't help you with this. And that reduces, an employee that's got this opportunity to refuse clients will certainly have a much better quality of life. Of course, there's consequential financial benefits here, so there's a trade-off. And so on. This space is limited. Do not put any benefits here. Of course, put the benefits that are critical. But once you've done that, ask yourself, what is it in my service that creates this benefits? And once you've done that, spell out for this person the personal value proposition. Be your own boss. Spend quality face time with your customers, getting to know them and building a rapport with them. Make projects happen that change their life. If you're that kind of person, this can be a lifetime motivation. If you like great environments, creating great environments, making friends even. So there you go. In an organization with many categories of employees, you need a value proposition for each category of employee. The processes, those that create value, are those that deliver this. Answer initial customer query. Conduct initial meeting. Produce initial design and sketch. Each of those, produce initial design and sketch. Make a box around this. Side talk. What comes in? What goes out? Who gives the input? Who receives the output? Who's the client of that process? When does it start? When does it end? You should be able to side talk it. What are the processes that enable that? Well, monitor suppliers and markets. Per se, it doesn't create value. I could study a given market for refrigerators, particular kitchen designs. When I'm doing that, I'm not creating value. When I'm in a customer and I'm referring to something that I've seen that would fit very nicely here, I am in this creation process. But this is an enabler. Manage brand visibility and integrity. Those processes are, again, side talkable, if you pardon me the word, side talkable. You can make a side talk for each of those. They are not projects, they are processes. And they are critical. If you make a failure here, you'll fail here as well. They are not less important, of course. They enable value creation. Maintain the web page, back up and update the server, manage advertising. You've got the service scape here to maintain. And again, they are not less important processes. They ensure that this will function. Suppliers, prepare cost estimate, build custom furniture. Who does that? Well, my given supply, my cabinet maker will design furniture for me, build furniture for me, assemble and install furniture. She doesn't do that. She uses a supplier. It could be within the company. If she didn't work alone, she could have a partner that does that. But in this case, her strategy is to really work with people who will do this for her, reduces her cost. Target, voice of customer, respecting delivery dates 95% of the time, returning all calls within 24 hours. Those targets, those metrics and targets are set relative to the promise, the customer value proposition. In the same sense as you do the DCDV, whenever you've got customer needs, you generate metrics and measurement system and set targets. Well, those are some of the key targets that you have to reach. Voice of customer here. The operation strategy, key position as broker in the design supply chain. She positions herself in between the clients with a personal relationship with them and the suppliers with a personal relationship with them. The clients may not know anything about the technical side. She does. The client may not want to deal with specialists. She can do that for them. In that sense, she creates a lot of value and she can reap a lot of value. She's important to the suppliers. She's important to the customer as well. Her strategy is not to have anything, not to do anything of her own, reducing her fixed cost. There's no work. She doesn't have to pay employees. And having a network large enough that whenever work volume builds up, she can subcontract to many people. Maximum use of design technology and IT because she doesn't have a secretary. She used technology to create a lot of value, deliver it directly electronically. She may install an app on their customer's iPad through which they can visualize her work, CAD, CAM, and so on. Technology creates a lot of value while reducing her cost, not having a secretary to pay. And in fact, it does much better work once you've invested in it. So IT is a key element of operation strategy. So there you go. Can we get some more detail? High resolution. The customer experience. I will not go through all this. You can certainly take time and hit pause and look at it in detail. But here you have the flow of the customer experience. Not just the individual benefits, but the flow of the experience. Critical ingredient to the ambiance. On client's premises, no control. Coffee together may create the right atmosphere. iPad on the kitchen table to show images and video. This is the ambiance. She's not at home. She's with the customer, in the customer environment. Key customer contact points. Well, this is where process mapping will be useful with the line of interaction. I'll show in a minute. The value chain, horizontal. The value chain is vertical towards the customer. The supply network, the stores, the factories, the seamstresses, and the distributor, the cabinet maker are the people creating value around the customer. Competitive strategy. Sandra uses technologies and does not require secretary. I've already said that. An accountant handles financial reporting obligation. It allows her for quick response and low cost. Key IT tool, server, CAD system, financial suite that she uses, integrated telecom system because she's on the road. She's got to be able to contact people who expect a quick response and so on. Eventually, you will take key processes and map them. Recall that we have technical tools, but having the processes identified here, we can, for any of those that turns out to be critical, to be in need of improvement, or for any new process here that needs improvement, that need to be designed, that does not exist, we can use the two methodologies that we know very well. Let's say, produce initial design and sketch. Let's say that this is a process that doesn't work very well. We understand the critical role that it plays here. We have a methodology to improve it. DMAIC. What does this tool contribute? Well, in as much as DMAIC allows you to zoom in, do things right, this allows you to check whether it is the right thing to do. The DMAIC, the zoom in, failure, value added, mapping, critical activity, is a zoom in to doing things right, thinking, acting locally. This allows you to think globally and maybe see that, well, maybe it's an enabler process that's a problem, and if you change this, you got to change that, or there is a contradiction between the impact of what you're doing on the value created for the client and a negative impact on the employee. It allows you to think globally, which you don't when you're really zooming into a process, splicing it into detail, cutting it apart. You lose the global thinking. This zooms you out. Google Street View. You're back from Street View to, whoops, let's go back here for a minute to 5,000 meters and make sure that this is the right thing to do, that whatever change seems to make sense at Street View level still does when you look at it in the perspective, the overall perspective of the value creation scheme, the business model of the organization. This is the purpose. I suggest using arrows. Arrows can allow you to say, if I change this, it will impact sales. It will impact my fixed cost. It will fit with my strategy. It will impact this benefit. You can pause here and see that when you produce initial design and sketch, learning the tool is very important. That's an enabler. Learning to use the CAD system is an enabler for that. And it does produce the TD drawing, which is critical to visualization and ease, which, because these people are very busy, they want it to be immediate visual and not waste time to understand technical drawings, for example. So you see the value connection here. You can see the profit connection here. You can see the strategic and the voice of customer connections here. Make sure, as you are working on any process, to come to this high-level model and make sure that your local action has global coherence. This is a fundamental aspect of the use of this model. Too many arrows, of course, makes it very confusing, but as you get to know the model, you will waste less time understanding its inner logic and spend much more time fitting it to the environment and using it really as a pair of an analytical tool to view a business and understand and ask the right questions. The model does not provide answer, but it does raise questions that, if they go unheeded, will result in total failure, even though in details you are doing a fantastic job doing things right. But as it turned out, you forgot that it's got a negative impact on the employee, does not fit with your strategy, negative profit impact. This is the challenge. The technique I just explained is very useful. It is conceptually difficult because it requires you to understand complex notions such as positioning, segment, value, benefits. In fact, it puts the whole topic together of the book. I suggest that you start working with it with colleagues, comparing notes. If you're in one business, do it separately, start comparing notes. If you've got colleagues, partners, different businesses, do it individually, then challenge each other with your understanding of the model. It's high investment, high yield. I wish you good luck with it, and this will conclude this video. Thank you for your attention.